How's that? That's pretty good. You know, it's too loud or too soft. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for the opportunity just to give you an update on the regional recycling program and how the MMBC Extended Producer Responsibility Program fits in. It's a shift in the BC residential recycling landscape, and SCRD staff is working to implement the shift, trying to maximize the opportunities and mitigate any adverse impacts to existing operators that we have on the coast and with the program that's currently in existence. So I've given you a handout here. The front side is the timeline, and it's just a quick chronology of how we got to where we are today. Starting with, I guess, really starting on this, it's 2009, local governments asked via UBCM for the province to implement an EPR, Extended Producer Responsibility Program, where producers take responsibility for their, in this case, packaging and printed paper. We've got similar programs for various things, tires, batteries, there's a list here. And this packaging and printed paper is just an extension of that. So, from what I know of UBCM, it was actually a pretty quick turnaround from the resolution in 2009 to the government amending the recycling regulation to include EPR. That was nearly 3 years ago. So May 19th, 2011, the recycling regulation was amended, and they gave producers 3 years to implement the program. Since then, we've been through, you're aware of some of the discussions that have ensued. The stewardship plan was adopted in April. September, local governments were given right of first refusal to provide some of these services as per their request. Last September, local governments responded. There's a list here of how they responded. The SCRD in particular accepted in principle the financial incentives for depot collection. As you know, the town of Gibsons declined the curbside incentive and asked state for preference for depot collection. So the SCRD supported that by taking up the depot collection incentive. In last November, signed agreements with MMBC for both these services. Since then, MMBC has been into the implementation phase. Now, this is a very short timeline to put together this program. They spent a lot of time on consultation, and so from they issued a request for proposals for post-collection services that closed in early January. It took until late February for them to announce who their post-collection contractor is. So under this program, once it's collected, MMBC takes responsibility, and the post-collection is up to them and their contractors. March, with the information we had, we started discussing with depot operators how this would come down, how this would be implemented. It took until April to actually get Green by Nature, who is the post-collection contractor, to provide some early information. They are working to the minute to get this thing implemented. It is a large program, so we're getting details. You can see now we get into the 1st of May. That's sort of an aside on curbside. SCRD is likely to ask MMBC to take over curbside service in Arts Creek and Huffman Bay, but on the depots, last Friday we were told who the post-collection hauler would be, so who would actually be the entity that goes to the depots and picks up material from them. Now, that hauler has some very important operational details that we need to communicate to our depot operators, and that we can't draw up a contract without those details. So it brings us to Monday, when we were given some written procedures, and this Thursday, when we'll actually get a site visit from the post-collection hauler. We can discuss any questions left with the depot operators, and then it's our intention to then nail down the details of the contract and get a contract in place for that collection. So 19th of May has been used a lot. It's Holiday Monday. It's given the information we have, we won't be implementing on that date, but there are other communities that will implement July 1st, September 1st, based on contracts they had. And so we're aiming for June 1st we have 3 depot operators that we're having discussions with. In Gibsons, it's Gibsons Recycling, who have been running the depot under contract with the SCRD for now almost 2 years. And so that work is ongoing. Details will continue to unfold hopefully by Friday we'll have everything we need. We'll do a second draft of the contract, discuss with the 3 depot operators, and get to a contract. So depots will continue to operate as they are until these changes come in. So MMBC will begin to pick up material as soon as we have contracts in place. At that point, the post-collection, at that point we begin to receive incentives. They won't fully fund the depot, but they do take some of the burden off taxpayers. And MMBC will be responsible for post-collection. So once it's collected at our depots, it is out of our hands essentially, and on somebody else, on the producer's responsibility. I'll quickly just go over on the flip side, is just some basic information about the program and how the SCRD fits into it. Some additional packaging and printed paper that isn't currently available for recycling. A couple of things that currently are taken that we need to evaluate as separate streams, books, and some film plastics that are currently sent to a recycler but at a cost to the hauler in the regional district. A restatement of, I'm not here to defend MMBC, but there is a restatement of what they said about waste energy and their relationship with waste energy. They've committed that they don't have any plans to send materials to waste energy. We don't have any information contrary to that. So, and then just a brief, just a restatement that this is a residential program only. So, commercial, industrial, and institutional operators will not be eligible to drop off material free under this program, but they can make other arrangements, as most of them currently do with recycling operators. And yes, once this is in place, some changes can be expected. There's a website that lists what is acceptable, what's not acceptable, and then material uses for some of these products, which should become more transparent as it is currently. They go to a broker in the Lower Mainland, and there's no certainty on whether they go to China or whether they go into recycling. So under this program, MMBC will be required to provide that information. They'll be audited. It's an independent third party, and we hope that will give residents some assurance on the recycling. And I don't want to say end use because it's not an end use, it's supposed to be a loop, so the recycling uses of these products, as well as publicly available tonnages and the like. So with that, I'm happy to take questions on any aspect of this program.
Right, thank you, Jeremy, and I know this has been a very difficult file to work. It's very fluid and changing all the time. So I think, yeah, it sounds like until you have the site visit with was it Green by Nature, I guess that's really where the details of what's realistic or not are going to be demonstrated.
That's correct. We're into the details such as exact collection containers, frequency of pickup, access, so that this pickup may occur by a third party who has been named as recently as Encore, who's the steward responsible for refundable beverage containers and electronics. So they will be the ones picking up this material from the depot on behalf of, because it's subcontracted to Green by Nature. So they will supply these details. We need to make sure the containers are appropriate, that they're not filling containers that have to be hauled away every 2-3 hours, and just exactly the division between collection and post-collection. And so we should be fairly straightforward once we get those details, but without somebody on site saying, yes, we can get our vehicle in here, yes, this is the right, we will be sending this correct equipment, and there's an interface between the two. Those are the details we need to get to a contract with our contractors. So.
Sorry, did you just say that Encore would be subcontracted to pick up electronic waste?
They already are picking up electronic waste, but Corpwood will be subcontracted to pick up packaging and printed paper from the depots.
Okay, all right, yeah, because I thought they already had an arrangement.
Yeah, I think that's the synergy.
Right.
I should let Green by Nature speak to that, but that's I believe that's their plan, is that these vehicles are already making trips to pick up beverage containers and electronics.
Yeah, I know this isn't, my question isn't regarding the town particularly, but I'm just kind of curious about what's happened with the curbside experiment in Half Moon Bay and Roberts Creek. So MMBC is going to have a subcontractor do that? And how will that get funded?
That's not determined yet, but the original intention with the SCRD, except for the financial incentives, was that the SCRD would continue to run the program. After going through a procurement process, the SCRD board wasn't comfortable with the extra that residents would potentially have to pay. So now the option being evaluated is to ask MMBC to take over the program, or to run the program, subcontract to run the program. If they did that, it would be free of charge to residents. So now there's no guarantee that they will do that, which is the other reason why SCRD originally accepted, but they will put it into, committed to putting it into their own RFP in the next 3 to 6 months, and so depending on what they get for pricing, they will may or may not implement the service, but it's a good use of stewardship program when they will provide the service, which was the intention.
Sherry, thank you as well for your work on this file. Just wondering if you could comment about communication and public education for some of the major changes that are happening. And I know it's a really short timeline, but I think my concern is between the period of time where you've got all the details and the period of time where the small business people are still going to be carting their stuff up to Gibsons Recycling and finding out when they get there what they have to pay for, what's not accepted, and if there's a bit of a plan that's going to fall somewhere in between that.
Absolutely, there needs to be more communication. We do need to have an implementation date so that we can tell people as of this date. And so as soon as that's in place, there has to be a lead time to do that. We will be getting the word out that once this is in place, it's intended to be residential only, and businesses need to make arrangements. So that's got to be well communicated. We're working on that communications aspect, which is there's some blanks to fill in. So basically, as soon as we get those details, it'll be out into the public realm, and we'll maybe asking the town for assistance in getting that word out.
Thank you, Mayor Rowan. Thanks for coming today, Jeremy. I was just wondering, are we looking at a situation where there's a smaller variety of materials that will now be collected that were formerly being collected?
I believe the list of things that previously weren't collected that will be collected is greater than the shorter list of things that are currently being collected and that can be looked at as a separate external to MMBC. So there's a list of additional styrofoam is currently taken in some places on a user pay basis that will become a free drop off. Milk cartons have always been somewhat problematic. Those are included aseptic containers, plastic plant pots, plastic clamshells, and then those takeaway coffee cups that are everywhere that previously haven't had a great recycling take up. So MMBC is committed to doing research and development. They do provide the benefit of a province-wide system that can bring some of those changes to market. Unfortunately, books was never included in the provincial regulation, so it will need a separate solution, another solution. But there are a few materials that will no longer be taken out. That will no longer be taken.
Just one other question on waste to energy. Read in the paper that says no deal to subsidy for waste energy projects. When I read that, I thought, well, that's the end of that. Because without a subsidy, it probably doesn't have a business case. Am I correct in that? Am I correct in that, or is that being simplistic?
I would really need to refer that to Metro Vancouver. I know we went to a workshop a couple of weeks ago, there was a discussion about the assumptions made on the energy value coming out of that, the potential waste energy. And I don't know the specifics, but I know BC Hydro has commented on that, so it may affect the business case. That's a pretty key assumption in that analysis, so, but I don't know where Metro Vancouver is going to fall on that topic.
Okay, so Jeremy, I think we're all fully anticipating hiccups, without question. So I would ask that you ensure that you keep a direct line with our CAO so that council can be kept apprised of any looming issues that we should know about. Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.